Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 o'clock. I'll be calling the regular meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order for April 21st, 2020. If you would mind saying the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is now 7 o'clock. I'll be calling the regular meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors.
Excuse me, anyone listening at home on the call, if you could please mute your phone, we're getting some feedback. Or mute your Facebook feed at home.
Your phone or getting feedback. Or mute your Facebook feed at home.
Just an announcement for folks watching at home. Due to the current coronavirus pandemic and until further notice, the regular meetings of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors will be held here in the East Conference Room of the Millcreek Township Municipal Building, and members of the public will not be able to attend in person. The meetings are being televised live online via the following website, facebook.com/millcreekoem, our emergency management Facebook page. The public will be able to participate in the public comments portions of this evening's meeting by calling in to 833-1111, extension 380. If the line is busy, please try again. The Board of Supervisors will keep the comment period open until it receives no further telephone calls. Meetings are also being recorded by WQLN and are later broadcast on Spectrum Channel 1024 and on YouTube.com with closed captioning available. There is about a 1-minute delay in the broadcast, so we will wait for folks to call in at those times, which is right now. Next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items other than development and rezoning applications. If anyone at home would like to call in with any questions about this evening's agenda, which is available at millcreektownship.com, please do so now, and we'll give folks a moment to call in.
Mr. Morgan, this is Attorney Shaw. I think should probably announce that Supervisor Ouellette and Supervisor Bach are also on the line.
You're right, I should have done that. For everyone at home, we do have Supervisor Ouellette, Supervisor Bach on the call, as well as our Solicitor Mark Shaw, our Township Secretary Cheryl Williams, Treasurer Mark Zaszewski, Director of Planning and Development Matthew Waldinger, and Director of Public Works Gary Snyder.
And with all the supervisors present, we do have a quorum, so
Thank you, Mark. Well, hearing no comments from the public, our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Everyone has been distributed a copy of the minutes. Are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes from April 7th of 2020? With that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Mr. Bach. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the bills. Are there any questions or comments regarding the bills, gentlemen? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the bills?
I will make a motion to approve payment of the bill.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is bids and quotations. The first item is a jet vac truck from the Public Works and Streets Department. Mr. Snyder or Mr. Ouellette, would you care to handle that?
Mr. Snyder, go ahead, please.
Might be a communication issue with Gary.
Maybe he's still on mute. Gary, Mr. Snyder, can you please unmute your phone?
Is this better?
Hey, there you are, Gary.
Alright. We are seeking permission to purchase a jet vac unit from A&H Equipment for the cost of $307,522.87 under the CoStar's contract number 10-25-044. This will go on top of the tandem axle chassis, which was approved at an earlier meeting for the cost of $131,658.10. This will bring the total cost of this unit to $439,180.97. This was a budgeted item, and it would be my recommendation to make those two purchases for the total of $439,180.97.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the jet vac truck from A&H Equipment for the CoStar's price of $307,522.87, and the Mack tandem axle truck chassis for $131,658.10 for a total of $439,180.97.
I will make a motion to approve those purchases as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Ouellette. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item under bids and quotations is a four-wheel drive pickup truck from the Public Works Department. Mr. Snyder.
We are seeking permission to purchase a 2020 Silverado four-wheel drive double cab pickup truck from Holman Chevrolet for the price of $31,484 under the CoStar's contract number 25-109. This will be a replacement truck, and it is a budgeted item, and it would be my recommendation to purchase that from Holman's for $31,484.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the purchase of a 2020 Chevrolet Silverado four-wheel drive double cab pickup from Holman Chevrolet for the purchase price of $31,484?
I will make that motion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Ouellette. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is our two four-wheel drive pickup trucks for the Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Ouellette, I believe you wanted to cover this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan. Request from Ashley Marcella from our Parks and Rec Department. Parks and Rec is seeking approval to purchase two work trucks from Holman Chevrolet under PA CoStar's contract 25-109. These trucks are 2020 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD four-wheel drive crew cabs. They come with the towing and plow packages. The trucks are a budgeted expense in the 2020 Parks and Rec capital budget. They are priced each at $36,101. It'd be my recommendation to approve the purchase of the two Chevrolet Silverado work trucks under PA CoStar's contract 25109, with a grand total for the purchase of $72,020.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the two trucks for $72,020?
I will make that motion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is under bids and quotations. Proposal for engineering services for Wolf Station Force Main from the Planning and Development Department. Mr. Walding, are you available?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. An existing 14-inch cast iron pressure line, which is known as the Wolf Station Force Main, is getting close to the end of its useful life and has been experiencing cracks and breaks. David Wright, Sanitary Sewer Technical Manager, issued a request for proposals to design an upsized replacement of 6,205 lineal feet of existing type with 16-inch high-density polyethylene force main. We received 3 proposals, Raybell Surveying and Engineering for a total of $53,500, Greenman Peterson Incorporated for a total of $75,000, and Urban Engineers for a total of $81,940. After reviewing all 3 proposals, it is the recommendation of David Wright that the contract to design the Wolf Station Force Main be awarded to Raybell Surveying and Engineering for a not-to-exceed price of $53,500. This is a budgeted expense in the Sewer Revenue Fund. Design, construction documents, and permitting are expected to be completed in early 2021, with replacement construction costs to be budgeted in the Sewer Revenue Fund for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the proposal with Raybell Surveying and Engineering for the Wolf Station Force Main project for a price not to exceed $53,500?
I will make a motion on that.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the 2020 Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project from Public Works.
We are seeking permission to enter into a contract with Sewer Specialty Services Company under the CoStar's contract number 016-082 for the 2020 sewer and grouting rehab season. You should have a list before you of an itemized breakdown of their charges for the items that they do for us, and this is not to exceed $300,000. This is a budgeted item in the sewer revenue budget, and it would be my recommendation to enter into a contract with Sewer Specialty Services Company, Inc. For the grouting and sewer and rehab for the sewer revenue department to not to exceed $300,000.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Snyder, I guess my question is, so this is an open-end agreement, so we don't actually, we haven't exactly identified specific locations. These are just unit prices for their services as needed throughout the year, with a maximum contract value of $300,000.
Correct. We have a certain section that we go into each year that we haven't been into, and it's cleaned and TV'd, and then it's all these leaks and cracks and that are grouted.
Okay.
To tighten up the systems. So that's what they do for us every year.
Okay. All right, with that, is there a motion to approve the contract with Sewer Specialty Services Company Incorporated for the 2020 sanitary sewer rehab project at a cost not to exceed $300,000?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. The next on our agenda is item number 7, the capital budget amendment request. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Zakrzewski. Are you available, sir?
Yes, I am. The items that you approved were all budgeted items, but they were all either over or under what the capital budget that was passed in December showed. So now we've got to catch up and deal with the differences. So on the first one, the jetter vac, the capital budget amount was $430,000. What you just approved was $439,180.97, which means that $9,180.97 over budget. That overage or shortfall of budget is to be made up from the reserve from the skid steer. There was a large surplus of $45,600 from the skid steer, largely due to trading in a piece of equipment. So that obviously more than covers it. It leaves $36,419.03 to reserve after covering the shortfall in the jetter vac. And I would put that in as a recommendation to approve amending the capital budget to reflect the shortfall being made up from the skid steer reserve.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the budget amendment? Actually, Mr. Zakrzewski, I don't anticipate any controversy over these votes. Would you like to go over all 3 amendments, and then we'll vote them all at once?
That's fine. I can do that.
Okay.
All right. The sewer pickup truck had a budget amount of $35,000 even. The just approved bid was $31,484, which means that there was a savings of $3,516, which is requested to be put to reserve in case some other project ends up being over budget. Do you want to get questions on the end, or do you want to keep questions after each one?
Well, I can ask. Any questions regarding that budget amendment, gentlemen?
No.
Nothing for me.
All right, Mr. Zakrzewski.
Okay, the next one then is the, yep.
Oh, you're good to go.
Go ahead. Okay. The next one is the 2 pickup trucks for Parks and Rec. The line item is, the first one is to replace the 1999 pickup truck. It had a budget of $48,000. The approved bid amount was $36,010 even, leaving $11,990 to the good. The other one in the capital budget was replace a 2004 pickup truck. It also had a budget amount of $48,000, and the approved bid amount was $36,010. Once again, leaving $11,990 So that leaves a total of $23,980 to reserve for the Parks and Rec Department capital budget. Any questions?
All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the 3 capital budget amendments?
Yes, Mr. Morgan, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is number 8, Resolution 2020-R24, a resolution approving Millcreek Township's fiscal year 2020 action plan requesting CDBG financial assistance from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Waldinger, are you on the line, sir?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Yes, this is our annual resolution for our community development block grant funding. This year, the Department of Housing and Urban Development has determined that Millcreek Township will be the recipient of $260,982 in community development block grant monies. This resolution authorizes the chairman to sign any documents and the grant agreement relative to those funds. It accepts the action plan that we prepared for fiscal year 2020 after holding the required meetings and the public comment period has expired. And it authorizes the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development as our subgrantee or subrecipient to sign any agreements and to manage the funds.
Any questions and comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Any questions or comments from the board?
It's not from the board. It's from Mark Zakrzewski, the treasurer. Matt, generally these funds are used to for the sidewalks and ramps. For the is that not the case?
We have to use them according to our 5-year consolidated plan. Yes, this year, the action plan that we're following for 2020 is using that money to do the handicapped curb ramps and curb cuts in the township.
Because you really, I think we've got less of the capital budget than you've got, grant money for. Just to make you aware of that.
Well, typically HUD doesn't give us our final allocation until sometime in the late first quarter of the year. So we usually estimate that amount before we know it for sure.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R24?
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R24.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2020-R25. This is a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 in the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. This is a routine action taken by the board to authorize our various department heads to dispose of records upon reaching their maturity date. In this instance, this resolution would be to authorize the police department to dispose of MPD dash cam videos that reach the required retention date between the dates of April 22nd, 2020 and May 12th, 2020. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R25?
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R25.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. The next two items on our agenda, item 10 and 11, are regarding personnel policies related to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. I will turn over discussion to Mr. Shaw, our solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. First is the Millcreek Township mask policy. In light of the April 15, 2020 order from the Pennsylvania Department of Health requiring essential businesses to provide face masks and employees to wear face masks. Before you for a vote is the Millcreek Township mask policy. The policy implements the recommendation that municipalities follow the Department of Health requirements for essential businesses. The township has purchased masks for its employees to use, and under the policy, employees are instructed to wear the masks while at work, and the policy provides additional guidance about when masks are to be worn. The policy also provides employees instructions on how to put on and take off the masks. It has an effective date of April 19, 2020, which is consistent with the Department of Health's order. Maybe to address these separately.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment, Mr. Morgan. This is Mr. Bach.
Okay.
Well, I am in favor of the township providing masks. I think that's a good idea. And I know the latest protocol certainly is to encourage the wearing of masks. My only issue with our policy is that I believe this should be a voluntary policy and that it should not be mandated for us to require the people to wear masks. But other than that, I do agree with providing masks to anybody who would want to wear them. That's only my only comment on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bach. Mr. Olet, do you have any commentary? Or questions or concerns about the policy?
No, I don't, Mr. Morgan.
Okay. I guess with that, I guess the first question I'll ask is there a motion to approve the policy as presented? I believe the policy as presented does require employees to wear the mask, so I guess I'll ask for a motion on approving the policy as is first.
Mr. Morgan, this is Mr. Olet. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Olet. Is there a second? Okay, hearing none, I will make the second. With that, I'll call for a vote. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Mr. Olet, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is amendments to the COVID-19 policy regarding sick leave, travel leave, and reporting. Mr. Shaw, would you care to cover that as well? And I apologize, gentlemen, I don't believe I have a copy of it in front of me. So.
Yes, on March 16th of 2019, the township issued a policy implementing COVID-19 guidelines related to sick time, travel, and reporting. That policy was affirmed by the supervisors in Resolution 2020-R14. At that time, many of the provisions of the policy were set to expire on May 8th of 2020. Since the next board meeting is not scheduled to occur until May 12th of 2020, the recommendation is to adjust some of those May 8th deadlines to May 12th of 2020, which would also be consistent with the current emergency declaration in effect for the township. So specifically, the recommendation is as follows. With respect to Section 1, the May 8th, 2020 deadline for waiving the requirements for doctor excuses for sick time, is extended to May 12 of 2020, and the May 8, 2020 deadline allowing sick time to be permitted to be used as family sick time to care for members of your household is extended to May 12 of 2020. With respect to Section 3, which imposed conditions on employees who traveled outside of Erie County, the May 8, 2020 deadline for implementation of those conditions would be extended to May 12 of 2020. No other changes are recommended for the policy.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Gentlemen, I would add that I agree with extending that into May 12th. I believe, as we're all aware, Governor Wolf has indicated that there may be, or he intends for there to be changes to stay-at-home orders and essential business orders on May 8th. I believe extending this to May 12th will give us time to review and digest whatever changes from the state occur in order for us to respond on the 12th. So I believe this is the appropriate course of action. I don't, but are there any other comments from the board regarding amending the policy?
Yes, Mr. Morgan, this is Mr. Bach. I would concur with what you said. I think it's prudent to extend this policy until May 12th. That the governor has indicated May 8th may be a day where some further decisions are made, and that will give us then an additional several days after that to further reevaluate this policy. I think it's also a wise move.
Okay, Mr. Lett, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
No, nothing further. I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendments to the COVID-19 policy regarding sick leave, travel time, and reporting?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve those amendments to the policy.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Ouellette. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center Operator Agreement. Will that be, should I turn it over to Mr. Shaw or Mr. Ouellette?
Mr. Morgan, I'll take that.
Okay.
This is a 3-year agreement with David Smith Golf to operate the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center from April 15 to October 15 of each year. The services expected from the operator would include providing day-to-day management of golf course and all facilities in accordance with generally accepted golf industry standards. Would also include routine maintenance on the golf course and driving range, such as repairing divots, removing trash from the golf course, and maintaining a good overall appearance for the golf course. Additional services would include maintaining a clean and healthy and safe clubhouse, as well as keeping the facility staffed with knowledgeable and appropriate personnel. Golf instruction would also be offered at the facility. Under the terms of the agreement, the golf revenues, which would include the driving range and golf course user fees, are to be shared at a 60-40 split, with 60% going to the township and 40% to David Smith Golf, with a minimum of $15,000 guaranteed to David Smith Golf. There are provisions that would allow the township to terminate the agreement after each season under certain circumstances. Under the agreement, the township is agreeing to provide a concrete pad for the driving range, while David Smith Golf is to provide tee mats and a cover for that area. David Smith Golf is also assuming certain maintenance obligations associated with the driving range, and we have added special provisions to account for the impact of the current COVID-19 pandemic, given that under the order of the governor, golf courses at this point are still closed.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Morgan, this is Mr. Bach. I have a few comments. Mr. Shaw and Mr. Ouellette and our Director of Parks and Recreation, Ashley Marsteller, for their hard work on reaching this agreement, and with the process by which the operator, Mr. Smith, was chosen. I have also met Mr. Smith. I sat in on a couple of those sessions, and he really has a passion for golf and for this facility. He really wants it to succeed, and I think that it's the right move to enter into this agreement with him. I think his heart is really in the right place, and he's a proven commodity in this area as far as golf operations, teaching, and I think a lot of the hard work is hopefully going to come to fruition once the course officially opens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bach. Any additional comments from the board?
Mr. Morgan, yes, I'd also like to echo Mr. Bach, and I just believe that Mr. Smith will be a great fit for Millcreek Golf and Learning. I also want to thank Ashley Marsteller and Mark Shaw. They put in a tremendous amount of work in this endeavor, and I just want to thank them for everything they've done.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your work on this. I'm assuming we did have the diocese come out and perform an exorcism on the course, right? So that curse is lifted that we've had for the past few years?
We hope.
All right. Well, with that, is there a motion to approve the operating agreement with Dave Smith Golf?
Yes, I will make that motion to approve this agreement.
All right. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is communications versus treasurer communications. Mr. Zakrzewski, anything to report to the board this evening?
No, nothing further.
All right, next is the seasonal employee request, Parks and Recreation. The Parks and Recreation Department is seeking approval of the attached employees for adult seasonal maintenance and maintenance at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center. All of these employees have previously worked for this department and have been budgeted for the 2020 Parks and Rec operations budget. That's the recommendation of Ashley Marsteller to approve the hire of Eric Nuara and Richard Johannesmeyer as our part-timers at the Golf and Learning Center. Mr. Ouellette, I understand these gentlemen will be working primarily under our contracted groundskeeper. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Morgan.
Okay. And I want to point out we overall we have as the township's operating and reduced operations, we have opted to not bring on part-timers for most departments in the township. I understand that these two folks will be working specifically to try and keep the golf course in operable conditions. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We're anticipating the golf course will be opening soon, and we want it to be ready to go, when that time does come.
Okay. And with that, is there a motion to approve the hiring of Eric Nuara at the rate of $13 per hour and Richard Johannesmeyer at the rate of $11.50 per hour as part-time maintenance for the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center?
Yes, I will make that motion to hire those two seasonal employees.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is the annual leaf collection being rescheduled. I have an announcement here. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the advanced disposal curbside collection of leaves in Millcreek Township will be postponed. The curbside leaf collection that was scheduled for the week of May 4th has been rescheduled to the week of June 8th. This is a reminder that all leaf waste must be placed in clear, transparent bags during the scheduled leaf collection weeks on your normal pickup day. Bags must be placed separate from trash and recycling containers and cannot contain grass and branches. Leaves cannot be placed in the recycling toters, as this contaminates our curbside recycling program. A third truck from Advanced Disposal will pick up the leaf bags on your regularly scheduled collection day. If your trash, recycling, or leaf waste is not collected, please call Advanced Disposal at 1-844-415-5970 to report missed collections. Also, leaves and branches may be dropped off at the Millfair Compost Center at 2301 Millfair Road during the following modified hours of operation. Millfair is operating on Thursdays from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., Friday through Saturday at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and on Sundays from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Next item under communications are executive sessions. We'd like to let the public know that the board has had executive sessions related to various HR and legal discussions from April 7th through the 9th, April 13th through the 15th, April 17th, and April 20th of 2020. Next item is MPD requests. Mr. Bach, would you like to handle those?
Yes, Mr. Morgan, thank you. First request, this comes from our police chief, Scott Height. With the transition to department-issued 9mm handguns, we are in possession of an excess amount of .357 caliber ammunition. Our co-star's vendor, Whitmer Public Safety, provided a quote for trade-in and replacement of our .357 caliber inventory. All quotes are attached. As with many other items, there has been an ammunition shortage nationwide. Thus, we are requesting the purchase of additional ammunition due to the uncertain delivery time. So the chief is requesting purchase of different ammunition totaling $5,236.05. Along with that, the business will take trade-in of unused ammunition, which is very you don't often see that, and that's a good. This is a good thing to do. We are going to be trading in $3,285 worth of ammunition back in that we would not normally be using because of the transition to a different caliber weapon. Thus, the total cost for this purchase will be $1,951.05. I would recommend this purchase. I will put this in the form of a motion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bach. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. With that is, I guess, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
And the second request from the chief is a request approval to obtain a 1-year subscription service to LP Police for $1,000. A trial version of the service has been successfully utilized by our officers to obtain cell phone subscription information for criminal investigations. LP Police is a company out of Massachusetts, I believe, and they provide nationwide background investigative information for government entities and police departments, law enforcement entities throughout the country. They have the their main function is they have access and capabilities to databases for public record information. Thus, the specific request from Chief Height would be to utilize this service quite a bit, mainly to obtain cell phone subscription information related to certain criminal investigations where they would need to obtain information on individuals in that manner. I noticed there is a contract with this. I didn't know if Attorney Shaw had anything to further add regarding the contract itself.
Yeah, we did review the contract, and I provided Chief with just a summary of what the various provisions were. There was nothing in there that was, rose to the level of objecting and suggesting we shouldn't proceed.
Okay. I would further add, I guess, it would be my plan to, monitor. This is a 1-year subscription, so I will be in contact with the chief to monitor its usage and its capabilities throughout that 1-year period, and to see if it's something that we would like to renew after the 1 year is up. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
So I will make the motion to approve that subscription.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is our student ambassador report. I don't believe our student ambassadors are reporting today. Is that correct? All right. Next is solicitor communications. Mr. Shaw, do you have anything else for us this evening?
There was one item before me, Mr. Morgan, about the MOU with the Jefferson Educational Society.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up after you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I do have one item that came up late in the day today. I apologize for the late addition on this, but I received information with respect to a tax assessment appeal settlement. The settlement has been reached between Erie Commerce LLC and the school district relating to the tax assessment appeal of Erie Commerce. Parcels located at 2424 West 23rd Street, which is the former Steris property. The parties have agreed to a decreasing valuation for the period 2015 through 2020, starting at $4,333,550 in 2015 and ending at $3,874,300 for the year 2020. The impact of this settlement to Millcreek Township would be a total refund for that 6-year period of $14,034.27. As background, the assessed value for this property had been $5,108,000 in 2015 and $4,803,700 for the years 2016 through 2020. I guess I would ask for approval of this and authorization for me to sign the documents to submit to the court.
Well, Mr. Shaw, I mean, that sounds like a pretty specific request. Should that have been on the agenda, and should we ask for public comment before voting on that?
Yeah, I think you need to ask for public comment, unfortunately.
All right. Would you mind restating what you'd like us to make a motion on again?
Sure, I would, I guess, request that you make a motion to authorize approval of this settlement of this tax assessment appeal between Erie Commerce LLC and the taxing authorities, which would reduce the valuation starting at $4,333,550 in 2015 and ending at $3,874,300 for 2020, which has a total refund impact to the township of $14,034.27. And to also authorize me to execute the appropriate documents.
All right. And again, I apologize, Mr. Shaw. I don't have that in front of me, so I have to write those numbers down myself. So, is there a motion to approve the settlement with Erie Commerce LLC?
Yes, I will make that motion, Mr. Morgan.
Is there a second?
We'll second.
All right, and with that, we open up for public comment, gentlemen. If anyone from the public would care to comment on this tax settlement issue, please feel free to call in. Again, the number is 833-111, extension 380, and we'll give folks a moment if they'd like to call in. Hey, good evening.
Howdy.
Hi, would you mind
Jerry
stating?
Video, 1720 West Square Road, Erie, PA, 16509. Which taxing authorities have agreed to this? Beyond Millcreek County? Oh.
Okay, Mr. Shaw, can you hear the question?
Sure. I believe that typically in these scenarios, the school district takes the lead, and so it's being recommended to all of the taxing authorities to approve this settlement. I don't know if the others have officially approved it yet. I don't know if it's come up at their meetings yet, but it came across my desk earlier today, and given the timing of our meeting, that's why it was presented this evening. So it's being recommended to all of the taxing authorities.
All right. Just was wondering.
Okay. Mr. Servideo, do you have any general comments for later, as long as you're on the line?
Not right now, sir. I think they probably went over this pretty well. I just was interested, which authorities went along with it. And couldn't have been too
All right, well, thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, we got a couple more seconds for folks to call in. I don't think we have anyone on hold. So are there any further questions or comments from the board before I call for a vote? All right, is there a motion to approve the tax settlement agreement? I'm sorry, we'll call for a vote. Mr. Bach, how do you vote? I apologize.
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And gentlemen, I apologize for missing the previous item on the agenda, the MOU with the Jefferson Educational Society. I believe that was distributed to everyone beforehand. The Jefferson Society is submitting an application to to the Gaming Revenue Authority's multi-municipal collaboration grant. This is a program the Jefferson Society has provided for the past few years. It's their civic leadership program, and they request different municipalities to join with them in a memorandum of understanding to help them qualify for the funding from ECRA. This agreement does not bind the township to any financial contributions. It simply endorses the program. In return, the Jefferson Society does provide a $1,500 scholarship fund for Millcreek Township residents to attend the program. To my knowledge, there are no other competing grants that are requesting the township's endorsement or approving an MOU. So are there any questions from the board or concerns about approving this MOU with the Jefferson Society for the grant application?
No, nothing on Mr. Bach then.
No, I don't have anything either.
Okay. Gentlemen, it appears the document they provided us lists myself as the vice chairman of the Board of Supervisors as the signatory. Do you gentlemen have a problem with that? Or should we have them amend it to include Mr. Bach as the chairman?
I'm okay with the vice chair signing that document.
I am also.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the ECGRA Multi-Municipal Collaboration Grant for 2020 with Jefferson Educational Society for their Civic Leadership Program, and authorizing Vice Chairman John Morgan to serve as a signatory on the MOU?
Yes, I will make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ouellette, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Is there anything else for the good of the order, gentlemen? All
I
right.
believe there was one more item. I believe, wasn't there a sewer grouting item, or did we already cover that?
That was covered in our bids and
I
quotations.
think that was coming earlier too.
Okay. I had it listed under later in the agenda. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that's the same thing I did with the MOU, Jim. Lots of different copies of the agenda floating around.
All right.
All right, with that, next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. Again, anyone viewing at home, if you would like to call in and ask any questions or make any comments to the Board of Supervisors, you may do so now. The phone number again is 833-1111, extension 380, and we'll give you folks some time to call in. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Mr.
Jerry
Savidio.
again, 1720 West Square Road, Erie, PA, 16509.
What can we do for Mr.
Hey, I'd
Savidio?
like to thank Mr. Supervisor Bach for putting the slow signs up on West Square Road. I don't understand when I'm watching this.
There's a bit of a delay, Jerry.
So anyways, I'd like to thank him, and I hope with the summer coming up and sitting here watching this road, again, I believe there has to be something done on this road. It's a flat run. I don't know what can be done. I hope you guys are taking it into consideration, not only this road, but other roads that have the same situation. We get a lot of people from Lecom come in. Well, they're a little quieter, but they still run pretty hard and fast down through here. I'm afraid someday somebody's going to get hurt. and I just request, that somebody would look at it again. But I'm always afraid that I'm going to be the one that gets caught because I probably exceeded 25 miles an hour. But it is a problem. And I have one other comment.
Okay.
I hope that, and I thank all the employees who have to work right now. They're working currently for the township. Sorry about that. And heads off to everybody that's working. I'm retired and I'm lucky I am. So I thank you all and keep up the work, and thank you again for your time.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Savidio.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate that, and for folks listening, all of our staff here at the township are still working in some kind of capacity, whether from home or coming into the building. Our streets crews are still operating on staggered shifts, so we do appreciate the work that our Millcreek Township employees are doing during this time, and thank you for recognizing that. We appreciate that, Mr. Savidio.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, a couple more moments for anyone else who'd care to call in. I guess a brief comment to Mr. Ouellette and Mr. Snyder. Are you still on the line?
Yes, I am, John.
As far as West Gore goes, I guess we do have the slow signs up there. I guess the only thing I could think of is if we've ever thought of any kind of speed bumps. Now, those have been discussed in the past in the township, and I know there's some concerns about putting those up. Is that anything we could look into? Or I don't know if Mr. Bach, Mr. Video mentioned you worked on that. Are there any discussions about that on West Gore or any of our main thoroughfares?
As far as from my end, I don't know of anything. I can ask Jeff and Joe Bizzaro if they've ever done any kind of studies on that. But I don't know what the legal ramifications are as far as speed bumps on a street. I'd have to find that out.
Mr. Morgan, this is Mr. Bach. I do know in Summit Township they have installed on one particular road what they call speed humps. They're similar to, if you gentlemen or the public is familiar with the speed impediment down by Sarah's at the foot of Presque Isle.
Okay.
That have been utilized in the past. They're similar to that. They're not the cement speed bumps that most of us are accustomed to that might be found like in parking lots, like up at McDowell. There's some speed bumps.
Mm-hmm.
These are, I believe, made out of kind of like a combination of a rubber and a plastic type material, and they're being utilized in Summit on a very short stretch of a road that's probably about a block long. And I understand what he's saying. I'm just not so sure. On West Gore, since it is a long stretch, and I know there has been concerns about the plow. What impact the plow would have on those types of devices.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that is a part of a challenge with how you would handle snow plowing with those devices in place. Now, in Sarah's case, obviously it's somewhat of a seasonal use down there. I believe it's utilized in the summer in that area. Mainly for pedestrian safety.
Right. Mr. Bach, do you know offhand if West Gore, I know we have kind of a rotating speed enforcement kind of stations in the township. Do you know if West Gore is on that list, or is that a possibility of putting kind of a random enforcement unit over there for speeding?
Yes, I believe that has been used in the past, and it certainly would be on our list. Again, to run some enforcement programs over there. During when the weather breaks, late spring, summer activities. So,
okay.
I certainly understand his concerns. I think the best tool there is enforcement action. Again, as we all know, that Pennsylvania is the only state where radar is not approved for municipal police departments, and so that is a challenge for municipal police departments as far as speed enforcement goes. They do not have access to radar. So I would encourage anyone that would want to see that come to fruition to, that obviously has to go through the legislative process to have that approved.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Bach. Looks like we don't have any further calls this evening. Any other business to address this evening, gentlemen, for the good of the order?
I have nothing further.
No, sir.
Okay. In that case, I will call for motion to adjourn at 8:07 p.m.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We are adjourned, and thank you for everyone tuning in at home. Stay safe and stay well.